James Gunn out at DC with Warner Brothers sell? Could be. Looking all smug there, but Well, with Superman reportedly bombing financially, and it did. And with Peacemaker season number 2 taking a number 2 with fans, Matt McCloin reached out to his insiders on the state of DCU under James Gunn. The short of that is James Gunn will be out as the head of DCU with the WBD sell. Matt was told if David Ellison of Skydance Paramount buys WBD, that Mike DeLuca will be in charge of DC and do a completely new start. Gunn recently said he's doing whatever he wants with DC. Matt thought that sounded odd, because if you're building a new universe, you want it to be successful with the fans. But, well, that's not happening, as both Creature Commandos and Peacemaker failed to chart on Nielsen. No relation. It's spelled differently, too. They don't have a big audience, and Gunn's really claims that Peacemaker season number 2 was meant to be a sequel to his Superman movie was pure BS. Well, why say it at all? I mean, tune into Peacemaker after Superman. You don't want to get lost, and you show up and you get this orgy. Superman also failed to resonate with international fans. Its box office also came in under Zack Snyder's Man of Steel by a large margin. Gunn's approach to the DCU has been all about divisive messaging. It's splitting the fan base. Well, mostly the Superman movies is cluttered. There's more messaging in Peacemaker season 2 than there is in Superman, but yeah. I am of the opinion, meaning Matt McCloin, that Gunn is doing whatever he wants with DC because his days are numbered and he knows it. And this is a good possibility. So he's getting himself, all his friends, and his wife big paychecks before WBD sells. That means when a sale goes through, James Gunn is out. Yeah, look, if Superman had made $1 billion, he's in. Even with Peacemaker being as bad as it was. He'd probably still have a shot. So Matt reached out to his Hollywood insiders, and here's what they said. Recently, saw the big news that Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi not resigned, re-signed with Warner Brothers in Deadline's report. They basically said it's because of the sale of Warner Brothers Discovery. David Ellison is looking to purchase WBD. So WBD CEO David Zasloff is putting people in place that Ellison wants. That means Ellison wants DeLuca and Abdi in charge of Warner Brothers films. Well, DeLuca and Abdi, and they were kind of in trouble for a bit, but their productions have righted the ship. They've had some winners here. Weapons, they take credit for, and Sinners and stuff like that. So, they're doing good. Gunn, well. So you'll notice that Gunn has pivoted from his planned Gods and Monsters storyline into what he calls his Superman family saga. So it'll just be this package deal of James Gunn's Superman, because after Supergirl, it's probably, or Man of Tomorrow, I'm guessing he'll still be able to do that before it's all said and done. And that's it. So it's Superman, Supergirl, Man of Tomorrow, the end. Lanterns and Peacemaker, well, a little extra. That's about it. Yeah. So the Gods and Monsters storyline is likely ditched because Gunn knows he can only get a select amount of movies out before the sale. Yeah, remember it was supposed to be a 10-year plan. Well, Matt McCloin's also been told that the reason why DCU projects have been stalling is because of Gunn's interference. The directors, the filmmakers want their own vision and not Gunn's. I'm told that most visionary directors in Hollywood are staying away from not only DC, but Marvel and Star Wars, because life is too short and everyone is looking for original properties. Matt was told Zack Snyder is happy doing his original stuff, but but only returned to DC for one last movie, an adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns. Now, I totally believe that because, well, he's mentioned it himself. And really, the only interest in comic books that Zack Snyder has is Watchmen, which he did, and Dark Knight Returns. Way back when he did Watchmen, he said he really wanted to do Dark Knight Returns. Well, the opportunity didn't come up, so he utilized Dark Knight Returns elements in Batman versus Superman. I mean, total scenes were in there from it. And because he probably felt, well, probably never going to get another shot at this. And, there's the deal. So this idea of a standalone thing, if they brought him back just for that, yeah, possibly. But this whole idea of him coming back and reviving the Snyderverse and all that after all this time, because a lot of years have gone by, I don't think you're getting Affleck back to do his Batman. And the idea that he would do a Batman trilogy along with a Henry Cavill Superman trilogy and then the 3 Justice League films, I don't think so. Maybe some animated thing. But, the clock ran out. That last opportunity, which even that I wasn't sure, but Abdi and DeLuca, yes, they had Cavill and Affleck back. And then all that changed. So McClellan continues, told that if Warner Brothers gets sold, it will be. That whoever buys it wants a completely new star. Yes. While it has been reported that Skydance is eyeing to purchase WBD, he's told Universal Comcast is still in the mix and knows they've been eyeing WBD for years. He's told that if Ellison buys Warner Brothers Discovery, is that James Gunn will be out. David Ellison's father, billionaire David Ellison, is close to President Donald Trump. So Peacemaker isn't getting a season 3, more than likely. And Gunn lied about a family-friendly approach to DC. Matt was told that actually nobody in the building knows his status except for Gunn himself, but his action speaks as to what might happen. It is of some interest that before the final episode of Peacemaker aired is James Gunn's wife, who plays Amelia Harcourt in it, posted on Instagram, says, well, that's a wrap, and probably there's something of that nature that this is probably the last time I'll play Amelia. So people took it to mean, maybe the character dies in the final episode. Well, spoiler, she doesn't. So maybe this is in reference of, she's married to the guy, and he's saying, well, I'm going to do as much as I can with this property, but it's pretty much over after the sale goes through. So, because, Superman didn't work. So anyway, it's obvious, and Gunn said it himself, he's doing whatever he wants with DC. It's because with the sale, his DCU will be dead. Back to David Ellison, Matt's told Mike DeLuca will take over DC. Recall how Matt's insiders told him about the real ending of The Flash, which is something Gunn completely changed. DeLuca wanted to bring back Zack Snyder's DCEU, which would have been in part led to the return of Henry Cavill as Superman and the return of Ben Affleck as Batman, with a Batman multiverse happening. That all got scrapped when Gunn took over the DCU. But Matt, and I agree with him here, is of the opinion that Gunn knew about the eventual sale of WBD and that Zaslav handed him over the reins and gave him the ability to do whatever he wants for the sale. They just want DC content out there to make the sale of WBD look better. Yeah, but you still needed to have some reins on Gunn to not do stupid stuff, which he did with Peacemaker. And so, yeah, you want DC to look good as you can. You try to polish that up for the sale, and the new owners want to do something else, whatever. But when you damage it, they might just, because I'm guessing really there isn't going to be a DC shared universe after this. I think it's just going to be Batman movies. Yeah. So back to the Luke in DC. He was told that he won't be bringing back the Snyderverse as everyone has moved on. Yeah, I think so. It's too bad. I would have liked to have seen a continuation of the Justice League story and to at least see Cavill play Superman at least one more time. But It ain't happening. He'll be starting a new DU, DUI universe under David Ellison and Skydance. And it's my guess we'll bring back truth, justice, and the American way. We also know Gunn's history with conservatives, which also likely explains Gunn's DCU agenda. He's just tossing it all out there before. Yeah, it is sort of slapped in and thrown around. So not sure why Blade is here. But anyway, Mike DeLuca discovered David S. Goyer is known for Blade, Man of Steel, and of course, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Mike also brought in Sinners and Weapons and oversaw the Conjuring franchise. Also add in Minecraft. Well, there you go. See, that's how he got his stat. Him and Abdi are pretty well safe and locked in. Until they bomb and something else. But for now, they're doing better than Gunn is. The Insider says he knows cinema, history, and global movements and is a die-hard comic book fan. Well, I've heard that so many times, but, we'll see. It's just a shame that it's just all wasted, and especially for David Cornsweet. Same thing with Henry Cavill and even Brandon Routh. Those guys could play a good Superman. All three of them could. They just didn't get the material to do it with. They got scenes here and there, bits and pieces. Some got better than others, but in the end, they were let down by the material they were given. Don't blame any of them for the failures of their iterations of Superman. It's just sad, but what are you going to do? So I guess if the sale goes through, that's it for James Gunn, huh? Well, the offer was made and Zaslav rejected it. But this is all the gamesmanship, and he wants the best price possible that he thinks he can get. So that's how that's played. So Warner Bros. Discovery has rebuffed Paramount Skydance's opening takeover approach, rejecting the offer of about $20 per share as too low. The move makes perfect sense, given what we already know. Zaslav has been pushing the company's stock higher, currently at $17.10, in advance of any sale, and he's unlikely to accept a fire sale price. As Deadline previously noted, the so-called shadow offer chatter had already bumped WBD's shares toward 20. The idea is clear. Any suitor has to pay up to play. So, he says, hey, Warner's is sexier than that. So rejecting the $20 a share bid aligns with Zaslav's strategy from the start. He wants the full value he believes in Warner Brothers Discovery's assets, especially the studio's DC and streaming divisions. Not a cut-rate deal. Zaslav has maneuvered over months to isolate the parts he intends to sell and strip away the risk. So the buyer pays for upside, not debt, confusion, or legacy liabilities. By doing so, he risks scaring off potential buyers who do not want to go too deep. Netflix, for instance, has expressed skepticism about absorbing WBD's linear network's licensing burdens and massive debt. But still ultimately this doesn't work out. He's going to have to carve out stuff so Netflix could come in and buy this or that, maybe. But so far, he's playing the game. But anyway, sources tell Bloomberg that Skydance Paramount is weighing its options, increasing its bid, pushing directly to Warner Brothers shareholders, or bringing in financial partners, rumors report to Apollo Global Management, to sweeten the offer. What? Unless they meet Zaslav's expected price. Warner's leadership may hold firm. So yeah, he's got to break through that some kind of way. Of course, at the moment, he could start buying up the stock directly, So, I mean Ellison. We'll see. It's unclear whether those informal pitch discussions have matured or if Paramount is just posturing. But rejecting the first bid is a signal. This won't be a cheap guy in a truck sale. Yeah. You're probably going to see more of Batman than Superman. Probably only Batman. But, well. So anyway, what does it mean for the sale rate? What raises the floor? Any next bid has to clear more than $20. Expect negotiation to start in the $25 to $30 range or higher. I'm going with higher. Buyers unwilling to go deep or swallow debt may drop out. Yeah, it does shrink it down. So Zaslav has leverage. The planned split of WBD into studio streaming versus networks gives Zaslav optionality. He can sell parts separately if full bids don't hit his mark. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, he's still got that in his pocket. Plus, they're splitting the company anyway, which brings me back to the questions about Netflix worrying about, the debt. The debt's all in the network and everything. So they could skip all that and just buy the streaming properties and buy the IP. That's mostly what they would want. You get DC, you get Harry Potter, you get film rights, at least, to Lord of the Rings. They still got that. And whatever else they got, there's a whole lot of stuff at Warner Brothers. They can get all that and just forget about, TNT, CNN, all that stuff. Goodbye, And I mean, originally the thought was Zaslav would just go back with Discovery because Discovery, at least at the time, for itself, was a successful streaming service. I don't know about after all this, but yeah, he could land there. Plus, he would have stake in whatever company is formed out of this, more than likely. But as far as being CEO of anything, well, no. So there you go. That's the DCU story and Warner Brothers story overall. But more than likely, yeah, this is probably going to be over. Because all along, Superman needed to not just be a good movie, it was just sort of okay. But all along, and this isn't really on James Gunn, but he really stumbled here. And he was just never the guy for it. But Superman had to be a great Superman movie for the position they were in, which they already were long before James Gunn came on board. So it was pretty tough to do anyway, but there was a lot of obvious things. He cluttered that film up. Look, I liked Guy Gardner. I liked Mr. Terrific in it, but you could have saved money by shrinking the cast down to just the Superman cast. And your basic plot could have played out pretty much as it did. It was just too cluttered. And you needed to get back to proper Superman. You got to have truth, justice, and the American way. You got to have that in there. And David Corn Sweat could have knocked it out of the park. But just another wasted opportunity. How many chances does the movie going audience are going to give to Superman? You've been burned quite a bit. It's damaging the brand, no matter how old and iconic it is. But, if somebody out there has got a great Superman idea for a film, I suppose he could soar back into good shape. But, man, all this money, what a waste, It's just all sad, I mean, Zaslav could still win on this, but these two, I don't know. I mean, Gunn put himself out more in front than Peter Safran did, so. Hey, you're going to have to take the lumps, Gunn. I'm afraid so. Yeah. But in the end, when it comes to that sort of thing, well, he's no one to blame but himself, Nobody made you put the, bisexual orgy in Peacemaker. No one made you put bigoted scenes about Christianity in there. That sort of thing. Plus, it seems like you were really lazy about that show as well. There wasn't a whole lot to it. I don't know. Probably a bad idea to do Peacemaker and Superman at the same time. But, well, plus, he should have looked for somebody who could do Superman. It wasn't you. There's some properties he'd be fine for. See, out of all this, I thought, maybe he'll get to be the director of Lobo. That's a character he could do. And he could go balls to the wall in outer space with Lobo. But, oh well.